Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. Welcome back and happy Monday to you. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. Thanks to some recent rain, our local mountains here received lots of fluffy snow. So we actually headed up over to the mountains this weekend. It was pretty special. So I'd love to hear, first off, where you're joining us from, what platform you're on, of course, what you did this weekend. And if you're joining us on the replay, a big hello to you as well. It's always great to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And a big welcome to also our friends at Modern Mom, because we're also now streaming to you so you can stay on top of relevant business and financial news. Let's start with the market, let you know how the market closed today. The Dow closed up 174 points. The Nasdaq also up 139 points. The S&P 500 up 25. So today was definitely a good day for those of you who are invested in the financial markets. It's a very busy week for us. In fact, this month we have seen a record request from different companies wanting to speak on different financial terms and programs right now. Definitely companies, employers are interested in beefing up their financial literacy for their employees across the board. So if you have a company or you're at a company who could definitely use some financial know-how and you're looking for a speaker to come in and speak to your group, do keep me in mind. We're definitely booking a ton of meetings right now, virtual meetings across the board. Now, let me tell you, the Dow and the S&P 500 today hit both new highs. We're really excited and happy for them. There's an increased optimism for investors seeing a path at the end of the tunnel, if you will, of this pandemic. And I'm sure you're feeling a little bit of that as well. I'm now seeing more of my friends, talking to them online and virtually, and a lot more people now have said they've been vaccinated or in the process of getting vaccinated as the economy is starting to open back up. Now, the optimism definitely is in the airline and travel industry. If you've seen today, lots of enthusiasm. We're seeing a lot of interest in this space. Investors are still watching bond yields very closely, continued concerns towards inflation, but people are definitely booking those flights. With COVID-19 and a year of burning through as much as $100 million in cash a day, airlines are breathing a hesitant but true sigh of relief as they're hoping to be making money again. Recently, U.S. airlines have been in a surge in recent bookings in the last few weeks. And actually, for those of you who are watching, I'm curious, how many of you have gone ahead and booked that next vacation or booked that next flight or maybe that next hotel room? Because we're seeing a lot more of that, especially in the last 3 weeks. In fact, as Americans are getting vaccinated and cities are opening up, it's looking like it's going to become more and more tourist friendly. In fact, if you've seen some of the photos coming out of Florida during spring break, you would think that everything was already back to normal and there was no pandemic. But many travel industry executives are very excited to see what this huge pent-up demand for domestic travel is going to look like. Is it just going to be leisure travel, personal travel, vacation planning with you and your family and your loved ones, your friends and everybody else? Or is it also going to look like a lot of business travel? Because one of the things that we've heard throughout this pandemic is that business travel will not be the same anymore, and that because of Zoom and different technology, companies are realizing they can do a lot more business without having to fly you in. Agree or disagree? I'm kind of on the fence on that as someone who's been the recipient of a lot of business travel. I think that, given that we're in a pandemic, of course, there isn't as much of an uptick in business travel. But I think in a few months, in a few years, things will start to calm down. And I can see it resuming. I really can do. So we're asking, the travel industry is saying, is this going to be Christmas for the airlines very soon? Because the last 3 weeks, in terms of bookings, have been the best for the travel industry that they've seen in months and possibly even years. So this Wednesday, the Federal Reserve will be addressing the public and giving us a better indication of the direction of interest rates. So if you have income, a healthy credit score, and a mortgage rate that eclipse 3%, it does make sense to at least consider a refinance while rates are still at a record low. Now, on other news, across the pond, if you will, Germany, France, and Italy today joined a group of smaller European countries that have temporarily stopped administering COVID-19 vaccines made by AstraZeneca, as more people are concerned because there's been an uptick in cases of blood clotting for vaccine recipients. So that's been on the pause. It's really concerning. In fact, they're showing that 37 cases of blood clotting has, I guess, been revealed for those who have received vaccines. But you got to put this into sort of context, because this is what the folks at AstraZeneca have said. Well, it's true. There have been cases of blood clotting, but 37 cases out of 17 million vaccinations. So they're saying, yes, this is a concern. This is something that we're looking into. But in the broad range of things, in the bigger picture, it's still, they say, a very safe vaccine. In fact, Denmark last week said that it had paused AstraZeneca shots as well for 2 weeks due to reports of blood clotting, and several other European countries quickly followed, including Norway, Ireland, the Netherlands, all put this on pause. So we'll see. There's a lot of news coming in, but we're hoping this gets more and more positive news of this getting back to normal. Now, there was another article today I definitely want to share with you, and that came from our friends at the Wall Street Journal, talking about the future of work. And I know many of you have been thinking about what's the future of work's going to look like, the future schools are going to look like. But here, the article today of the Wall Street Journal was really interesting because it actually quoted multiple CEOs on the topic. And this was on Wall Street Journal today. You can see it online. Top executives are seeing light at the end of the pandemic tunnel. But the question is, will we be going back to work? Will we be staying and continue to work from home? Is it going to look like a hybrid? What does your company look like? Well, I thought I would share with you some of the quotes that the article talked about today. It's very interesting. It says, I don't have a hotline to the governor of California. If I did, I'd be calling him up and saying, open up, blank, stay up. A lot of people, while we like being at home initially, we are all social creatures, and sitting at home forever does not sound like an attractive prospect. This is James Fish, CEO of Waste Management. That was his quote. Another CEO said, I certainly imagine everyone back in the office. I do think from a cultural point of view, apprenticeship, the sense of belonging, you're better together. This came from Jane Fraser, the CEO of Citigroup. As you know, Citibank, very, very big financial company. So it was really interesting to see what CEOs think, right? Sometimes as an employee, you might be feeling differently than a CEO might feel about your company. So I'm curious to see your thoughts on that. Now, another quote was, I'm a longtime believer in New York, but it's going to be a difficult period over the next year or two. We've been back since September, and let me tell you, it's great to be back. And we're so much more productive in the office than we were over the summer and last spring on Zoom. And I think a lot of people, when they get back, will realize that productivity pickup versus maybe the short-term benefit of not having to commute still makes sense. So Stephen Plavin, CEO of Blackstone Mortgage Company. So it's really interesting. It seems like definitely CEOs are swaying towards getting staff back into the office, back to normal. At least we're seeing from financial, right? Citigroup, financial. We're seeing from waste management, obviously, garbage, trash industry, and mortgage industry. Then there's another quote that came out today that said, a certain amount of people work from home permanently. I think there will be a large portion who permanently work in the office. There will be some hybrids when you spend 2 days or 2 weeks at home and 2 weeks in the office. It will reduce the need for commercial real estate, but there are huge weaknesses to the Zoom world. I mean, most of us learn by an apprenticeship system, by seeing mistakes, going on trips, how to handle a client, how do you handle the problem. It's hard to like embrace this culture and character and all those things. It's very hard to build and develop a deeper relationship on Zoom. Now, I think those of you who've been having your kids go to school online like I do, my kids are downstairs, going to class right now, would agree, right? There's that social aspect that is so necessary. I mean, the kids aren't feeling that connection with each other, certainly with the educator and the teacher as well. It's going to be very interesting. we want things to go back to normal, but there's a lot of things that we have appreciated. I certainly talked to my own team, and I think my team initially was very excited about going back to the office because they miss the social interaction. But now a lot of my team members are saying they're enjoying not having to worry about the commute and be able to juggle things like household responsibilities while in work. I want to say a quick hello to Alicia for joining us also. It's great to see you on YouTube. And she is saying, let's see, I think that our future dictates a different future and we are slow to adapt. Working in offices are antiquated. Very interesting comment. Yeah, I think it depends on the industry, right? So I do know, like, my friends at and by the way, I want to add that the last quote I shared with you is from Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP Morgan, really understanding that, given the pandemic and sort of the new generation of work, that there needs to be sort of a understanding that some people will work full-time at home, some people will work full-time at work, and some people will have a hybrid experience. I think that's really sound. I would agree with that. I think there's some positions that do require to be on site. For example, my friends and producers at Good Day LA, very hard to do that same level of production while from home. We're seeing that from a lot of different productions. And then there are certain industries, like, for example, like when I was working at Smith Barney and I was pregnant with my first child, I think it would have been very conducive to have the option to really work from home, right? To balance home life and work life a little bit better. So I do think it depends on the culture, but I also think that taking on that very open approach is smart. You're seeing right now, I actually had a conversation with some parents this past weekend, and come fall, our kids have the election to either continue to go to school at home, go back to school full time, or hybrid between the two. And it's really interesting because everyone's situation is so different, and it's very dangerous, I think, to do one big swoop and say it's all or none, or everybody should do it a certain way, because everybody's situation is very, very unique, right? In our situation, we've got family members that are high risk. And so, having 3 kids in school that aren't very good at keeping a mask on, that might not be the situation that other parents have, where both parents have to work and they need to bring in that income. And it's just not conducive to monitoring, making sure that your child isn't also surfing YouTube while they're supposed to be at school. So I think, this pandemic has really opened our eyes to how specific everyone's needs are so different. And most importantly, to be empathetic and listen more than make a judgmental decision of how, because my situation is this way and therefore everyone's situation should be this way as well. I think that's really dangerous. And I think we should really try to listen more than we should talk about. So I love that. I love that we're having this discussion. I want to thank all of you for joining. I see so many of you joining us from all different channels, Periscope and YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Let's see. So tomorrow we're in for a treat. Tomorrow we'll be welcoming to the show Samantha Ettis, and she is founder and CEO of Park Place Power on Level Up Live tomorrow, and her women-led fintech company, and what it means to empower conversation about women in the workforce. So, she's another voice that we want to share tomorrow. We'll also have a conversation with her, see where she thinks the future of work is going to look like, and maybe the trends that she's seeing, to give us a better indication or understanding of what would make most sense for us. If you are a business owner, if you're an employee at a large company or a small company or a mid-sized company, knowing that our situations are going to be varied and different, what are the trends that we're seeing? What sort of discussions should we be having? And if we need to make the difficult decision of, I can't come back to work, or I can come back to work, but it's going to like this, what sort of steps should we take? So I want to invite you to that. It's going to be really fun tomorrow, Tuesday, tomorrow at same time, 2:30 Pacific or 5:30 if you're joining on the East Coast. And if you're joining in between, depending on where you're joining from, would love to see you there. So thank you so much for watching today, supporting our program. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. We have a very, very big week. Lots of great guests, lots of great content. Please take a moment, if you could, to share this show. And as a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Be well, and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Take care now.